Welcome to the project tonight. The world horrified as claims Aussie mining plans are again threatening ancient cultural sites.
The new Aussie Rich List tweets out to one of Australia's most cashed up families on the real secret to being wealthy.
Claims AI is now so good it can teach better than teachers. So could that be right?
What? And the CIA has been secretly meddling in Star Wars, and the fans, they are not happy. But they're still all fine with Luke Skywalker hooking up with his sister. So work that out.
They're very tolerant people.
Yeah.
We are live from the Cooler Nations. Tonight we are joined by self-confessed Wookiee cosplayer.
That's fantastic.
The commitment to that.
Is that
I was very happy.
That's the funny voice you've gotten away today?
Yeah.
There's going to be some new ones coming up.
All right, let's get into today's top stories. And we're starting with some really sad news. Aussie fans are reeling after learning Aussie actor and comedian Magda Sabansky is fighting a rare form of blood cancer. Magda revealed on Instagram she's been diagnosed with stage 4 mantle cell lymphoma. She says she's also started one of the best treatments available. The 64-year-old says it was incidentally picked up following a recent breast screen.
The head is shaved in anticipation of it all falling out in a couple of weeks because I have just been diagnosed with a very rare, very aggressive, very serious lymphoma. It is one of the nasty ones, unfortunately. But the good thing is I'm surrounded by beautiful friends and family and an incredible medical support team.
Sad news about such a wonderful person. Of course, our thoughts are with you, Mags. All right, to this year's State of Origin series, which kicked off last night. It kicked off with a bang for the Blues, dominating Queensland to secure an 18-6 win at Suncorp Stadium last night. Triumphant return for coach Laurie Daly. It was also the first time the Blues have won back-to-back games in Brisbane in 27 years because they're traditionally crap. The Maroons must win in Perth on June 18 to avoid a second consecutive series loss.
Oh, I enjoyed when you started changing the script.
Well,
that was good.
I mean, I hate New South Wales.
We're not New South Wales fans.
I don't get it. Every year it's like you're a Victorian, mate. You don't have a dog. It's just support New South Wales.
All Victorians support Queensland in State of Origin.
I know, but I don't know why, as New South Wales does so much for this great country. We put this country on our back economically and we deliver great football results.
On that, based on the game last night, I'm going to utter a sentence I don't think I've actually ever said in my entire life, which is Queensland could afford to be a little bit more New South Wales about it, which is not show as much loyalty as we traditionally do and make some changes ahead of game two.
Still got a shot in.
Yeah.
I love that.
You got it.
So what are you thinking, gut the team?
Not gut the team, but gut some of the team.
Hang on, I was texting you last night as this game was going and you wanted to gut the team.
Yeah, look, there's something, the word bulk changes may have been used.
You said some mean things about a Queensland legend. I was with you last night.
Hey. Look, I love Daly Cherry Evans. He is the captain of the Maroons team. He's done so much for our state. I honestly think that there has to be serious conversations. Billy Slater, I don't know if he can continue into... Well, no, not Billy Slater. He was picking DCE. No, Billy's safe. But I think you've got to get Tom Dearden starting. He has to be there from the start. We didn't have any spark. We didn't have any life. It was honestly the most uninspiring performance from Queensland I've seen in recent memory.
I don't know. Is Cam Smith available? I reckon he might still...
Last night I was calling for him.
He was pretty good. I actually reckon after last night's result, I reckon Victoria should get a crack at Queensland. I think that might be a fun...
That's a better rivalry, Sydney versus Melbourne, right? Everyone loves that.
That would be fun.
You'd have to play, though, I think, because
I'm up
not
for
a lot
it.
of players.
All right, put me in the lock.
Play?
Lock.
No, you'd play on the bench, man. After the game, these Queensland fans like Tunny, they're feral. Let me tell you, we can barely put them on TV, but don't worry, the Blues, as always, their fans were relatively dignified.
We won. Seeing, is it Perth?
See that? And then what do we got here?
Oh, the Blues, yay!
That's an angel of a woman. Actually, to be fair, I've got to be transparent. She's not actually a New South Wales fan. She was next door at a Marge Simpson lookalike competition. The cameras got her. Yeah.
In other news, most of the small town of Blatton has been buried by ice, mud and rock after a glacier collapsed high in the Swiss Alps. The terrifying moment was captured on camera. Look at that. Tons of debris could be seen plunging into the valley below. Only a few buildings are still standing. One person has been reported missing. The town's 300 residents were evacuated about 10 days ago when the glacier started to crumble.
And tonight, our very own Rove McManus will be spending the whole night locked in a cage like this all to highlight the cruel reality faced by endangered sun bears and moon bears. Rove's Act of Solidarity is all about raising awareness and funds for the life-saving work of animal welfare charity Free the Bears.
Oh my goodness, what a wonderful cause. Yeah. It's going to be so cold.
It will be.
Although I did it when I saw that on the rundown for the show today, I thought he was going to be locked in a cage with a bear.
You did.
I was like, we've got to look after Rove here, but he'll be fine.
And in typical Rove fashion, he looks like he's throwing himself into it with full enthusiasm.
Oh, yes.
And he'll be on the show tomorrow, so of course you can see
we're
what
gonna
happens.
go
Or will he? Will he make it? Come on, Rove!
You'll be right, Rove.
If you do want to donate as well to the fundraiser, all of the information is on the Free the Bears website too.
All right, time for a break. We'll see you soon. Welcome back. You are watching The Project.
Now, environmental and Aboriginal activists are furious over the government's decision to approve Woodside Energy's lease extension on a WA gas plant. The government says it's done its due diligence, but critics say it could ruin some of the oldest art in the world.
We have a very strong working relationship with the Murujuga Aboriginal Corporation.
Our buy-in is a lot different. Our buy-in is our future.
There's a huge amount of goodwill from all the players involved in this
The
debate.
Environment Minister has failed at the first hurdle.
It was approved by the state government.
We'll be guided by the science on this, not from the media commentary.
2070. That's the year Woodside Energy's lease on the North West Shelf gas project is set to run out, after newly minted Environment Minister Murray Watt granted a provisional approval for Woodside Energy's 40-year lease extension, noting that it is
subject to strict conditions, particularly relating to the impact of air emissions levels from the operation of an expanded onshore Karratha gas plant.
As Australia suffers through both droughts and floods, environmental activists say this extension is a carbon bomb that will produce billions of tonnes of greenhouse gas emissions.
Stop! Woodside!
But Woodside is also facing a battle on a different front.
It's like this place is crying out for help and we're all just sitting back.
If you think a 40-year lease is a long time, try 40,000. That's the age of some of the 1 million rock carvings or petroglyphs said to include the first known depiction of a human face.
It tells a story of our history, our ancient history.
Industrial emissions are currently damaging the rock art of Murujuga.
The WA government says those concerns are unfounded, claiming a 5-year study of the area says the rocks are safe from the plant.
That report itself was peer-reviewed, and so the science is in. If there's contrary science, well, that should be presented in the scientific forum.
But according to one of the report's lead authors, it was. Professor Adrian Baddeley reportedly claiming the state's environmental agency altered key findings in the report, a claim critics have seized upon.
If you've read the report properly, you'll see that the executive summary contains a table with a line that is missing. It's direct evidence that the executive summary has been doctored.
There was an incident where one of the graphs was simplified.
Shortly before Watt's approval, Australia's bid to add Murujuga to the World Heritage List was knocked back due to concerns over degrading acidic emissions in the area. The custodians of the land have launched action in the federal court.
The science has said that modern industrial developments do not have a long-term impact in terms of the quality of the rock art.
This document is not worth the paper that it is written on.
And when Professor Benjamin Smith isn't tearing up documents, he's Professor of Archaeology at the University of Western Australia and President of the International Scientific Committee for Rock Art. Professor, you've accused the state government of doctoring the report summary. I mean, it's a strong accusation. What are you basing that on?
I was basing it on my friends and colleagues over at the University of Curtin raised a serious concern that one of the tables in their report had been changed between their original report and what was released to the media in the summary. It's very clear that a teal line has been removed, and that teal line is one of the most important lines in the entire report, because that is the line above which, when you are looking at industrial pollution at Murujuga, anything above that line, they cannot guarantee that the rock art is not being degraded by industrial emissions. Anything below that line, they're saying, is safe. So to remove that line and rely on higher lines is it's masking what is the most important finding of the science.
So are you saying that if that line were there, like what's the result of that? That it would mean that there will definitely be damage to the rocks and to the art, that there is a risk that there will be, that there's disagreement about it? Like what would that line actually mean?
Yeah, so what the team have said is that above that line, there's a statistically significant chance that there will be damage to the rock art. But what it really means, what the most important thing is, that it means that all of the sites that they have been monitoring that are near to or in the industrial precinct would then be within the danger zone and would require some sort of action from government, at least government to recognise the problem and to try and deal with it. By removing that line, you're suggesting that none of the sites are at threat, whereas in fact all of the sites close to industry are at threat from the levels of pollution that exist in that area today.
Why do you think that line was removed?
You would have to ask the politicians. I got a spray from Roger Cook for talking about that. I stick to the science here.
If that is correct, though, I mean, that could potentially be catastrophic. This art is 40, 50,000 years old. I mean, it can be really hard to kind of understand that. Can you explain why it is so significant?
Yeah, I mean, we think that Australia as a country thinks this place is so significant that we're putting it forward as our next World Heritage Site. So we're putting it up there, you know, with the Eiffel Tower as one of the great places in the world, and there's no doubt that it deserves to be there. UNESCO, in their consideration of this, give the proposal to their scientific body, which is ICOMOS, to consider. And ICOMOS has come back saying, absolutely, this is one of the most important sites in the world, most important rock art sites in the world, and it deserves World Heritage nomination, but you guys have got to look after it before we're going to list it.
How much damage are we talking about?
So there's 1 million rock engravings there. This pollution is damaging all of them in some way, but those that are closest to industry are the ones that are being most seriously damaged. So we're looking, if we allow the pollution to continue without regulation, we could lose much of that site within a generation.
Oh, Professor, it sounds absolutely awful. Thank you very much for taking us through it.
My pleasure.
You're watching The Project. Back soon.
Now, Donald Trump's trade war may be all unravelling, and it's an unexpected foe that's bringing it undone. Donald Trump's facing some serious tariff trouble. The little-known US Court of International Trade has blocked his Liberation Day levies on global imports after ruling that he overstepped his authority and can't impose tariffs under emergency powers law. The court's given his administration 10 days to rescind them. The White House is already appealing the decision. All this as Trump's bromance with Elon Musk appears to have ended. Musk has departed Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, a day after criticising the big, beautiful tax bill that's the centrepiece of Trump's domestic policy agenda. Currently before the Senate, the bill could increase US federal debt by up to $4.6 trillion.
You know, I was like disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it, and undermines the work that the Doge team is doing.
Surprisingly, Trump didn't attack Musk over his remarks, but conceded he had concerns.
We will be negotiating that bill, and I'm not happy about certain aspects of it, but I'm thrilled by other aspects of it.
I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it could be both.
Well, Steve Clemons is our man in Washington, but is joining us from Yokohama. Steve, Musk and Trump have broken up. We didn't see this coming, did we?
Well, you know, the beautiful big bromance had to end someday. There's another BBB for you. We knew it was going to happen, but not after just 130 days. That's how long that bromance lasted.
How significant is that, do you think, for the future of the administration?
I think it's huge. I actually think this is a very, very important moment because Elon Musk was one of Trump, put $300 million into Donald Trump's election. They took a hacksaw to the federal bureaucracy. A lot of Donald Trump's agenda was shaped by what Musk was doing. And for them to leave, I mean, Musk is leaving with a whimper, not with a parade. And this moment is showing he's been chastened by this moment. And everybody just seems to be a little bit kind of melted right now, as opposed to being a big triumph for either Doge or the big, beautiful bill. Both of them seem to be less than everyone wanted them to be inside the Trump administration.
Now, let's talk about the US Court of International Trade. Do you think Trump has even heard of these guys?
No. No, I mean, look, trade used to be a really boring topic, right? It was not at the forefront of America's battles with the world. So the Court of International Trade is for customs and trade disputes, but it's an important court, and it's there. And guess what? It has power over, managing disputes over trade. And while this is being appealed, they're calling for the immediate suspension and rollback of all of these duties. Now, the president has other ways he can do some of what they're telling him he can't do, so he may have to change course. But it's a remarkable judgment because it says you have no constitutional authority to do what you've done. Congress does, but the presidency doesn't. So it's a big deal.
So there are so many things that fall out of that. You said he can do some of the things. Like, how much are we talking about? How put this in context. The tariff thing was Trump's big economic pitch throughout the whole campaign. It was the most beautiful word in the English language, all that sort of stuff. How much of that whole agenda would lie in ruins if the court ultimately is upheld?
If the court is upheld, a staggering amount is. But the most important thing is it cuts Donald Trump's wings from thinking he can use these tariffs as negotiating leverage with other nations to force them to do what he wants. And that's what he's been doing. He's been using them as leverage. And that is the specific act that the court has been saying, you may not do that. Now, he can come through and file other specific trade complaints within certain sectors and create a tariff regime there, and you can stack it up. It's much more complicated, and you can't do it as an up again, down again, trade threat practice, which is what he's been doing. So if this is upheld, and it's very interesting because the constitutionality of Congress's powers to control commerce is embedded in the United States Constitution. So it's going to be very interesting to see this go to the Supreme Court and hear the Supreme Court's judgment. Oh, yeah, that, somehow the founding fathers got it wrong. So it's a really, really interesting deal, and we'll have to see how it plays out. But right now, it just gut punches Donald Trump's, trade, as you just said, trade is defining for him. Tariffs are defining for him, and it's going to be a problem for him now.
God, you just never know what you're going to get. Steve, thank you so much for your time. You really don't.
Thank you, folks.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, you never know. Speaking of not knowing what you're going to get, let's go to the Gold Coast now for the annual firework contest, Sea Fire. Now, it features teams from all over the world, and Belgium's Cliff Hogar, he's sure got a beautiful poetic vision for his firework display.
We try to create a story in the sky. It's weird to say, but if I can have the moment that, the grandpa and the grandma watching the show and remember that song from when they were dancing, then I'm succeeding.
He's not wrong, actually, by that. It's beautiful, isn't it? Because fireworks, they're often a metaphor for love and marriage because they cost a lot and often blow up in your face.
Says the married guy on the...
You know me, you know me, bachelor kind of fella. Anyway, but Gold Coast Mayor, he had to get involved, and his take was a little less sentimental.
Well, we're going to still do the Big Bang.
So that was just for our Gold Coast viewers that needed it translated. So there you go.
All right, coming up, shock for Star Wars fans, how a super sleuth uncovered a hidden network used by the CIA to communicate with overseas spies, all using Star Wars. Thank you very much. See you soon.
This is
Let's get into more of today's top stories. And beloved Aussie actor and comedian Magda Szubanski is still laughing despite facing the biggest fight of her life. She's revealed that she started treatment after being diagnosed with stage 4 mantle cell lymphoma, a rare form of blood cancer.
The head is shaved in anticipation of it all falling out in a couple of weeks because I have just been diagnosed with a very rare, very aggressive, very serious lymphoma. It's pretty confronting. It is a full-on one, but new treatments keep coming down the pipeline all the time. So, I just got to. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
You just gotta laugh. Oh, yeah. I just think that this was a story that, we're all sitting there doom scrolling how we do it, and every day, and it's just one that you pause and you go, no.
It hits you, doesn't it? So universally loved.
Yeah,
everyone's like,
It's rare you've got an entire nation on your side, but that's what Magda has, especially in this fight. She's just so well loved, and hopefully that she can get she can get through this. She
And-
said she's got the best treatment. She's
Yeah,
got the
and she
best treatment.
seems in good spirits and she seems to be feeling well at the moment, but it's a terrifying thing to confront. Anyone who's had people in their family who've had any form of cancer, really, it's the thing, and we've had this in our family, the thing that is terrifying is you know what's coming and you may not feel it. It's not like having, other kinds of illnesses where you're bedridden or anything like that, but you just know what's coming. And so it's the fear of the imagination of it all. But having that kind of spirit.
Totally. I think that little snippet at the end of the clip just reinforces why we love her so much.
There's
and why we
something
connect
about
with
as
her.
well with people who make us laugh. I mean, you're both this as well.
I'm not that funny.
Yeah, no. But when people make you...
She's one of the greatest.
Yeah, but you know what? Her Wookiee voice.
Yeah, that's so
Come on.
But when people make you laugh, it's like you have a special place in your heart for them, because it's like they've been there to give you joy, and that's really special.
And everyone at the project sending you love, Mags. We know you've sat at this desk many times. You're a friend of the show, so all the best from here. All right, the lead detective in Erin Patterson's mushroom murder trial has testified that police may have missed several devices during a search of her home. Photos from the search were presented to the court. One appeared to show several laptops. Under cross-examination, leading Senior Constable Stephen Eppingstall told the court that it was his first time learning of them. The defence also cast doubt on the accuracy of CCTV evidence. Patterson, of course, has pleaded not guilty to all charges. Erin Pearson is the Age's crime and justice reporter. She was in the court in Morwell again today. Erin, tell me more about these potentially missing devices.
Yeah, that's right. The defence team brought into evidence some photographs that the jury hadn't seen before, and they were told that they were taken during search warrants conducted at Erin Patterson's home in Leongatha. Now, we know that the police attended that home on two different occasions. One was in August 2023 and one a few months later in November 2023. At both those times on their warrants, they were told to look for electronic devices that may be items of interest. And Colin Mandy for the defence today really challenged the informant on that information and on that search, particularly the first search that was undertaken. There was a room, it was called a Lego room, where photographs were shown of. It was an open white cabinet, and there was what the defence were suggesting could be computers, and maybe in another room a phone that may have been missed. The officer was explaining to the jury that that was the first time that it had ever been suggested or he'd heard of anything like that, and he was pretty sure that when they went there they were looking for everything they could get, and that's what they did.
So we are in cross-examination mode, and so what that means is the defence is trying to find holes in evidence that was given. The senior constable had given evidence about Erin Patterson visiting the website iNaturalist. What did the cross-examination do with that?
Yeah, so we heard that there was a number of URLs, which is like the website wording essentially, that you put into a search tab to go to a website. And the informant was asked about documents that had been shown to the jury, screenshots of this website they allege Erin Patterson visited shortly before the lunch. And he was explaining that it was December 2024, amid his homicide investigation, that he actually himself accessed these websites and took screenshots, and they're the screenshots that the jury was shown. So the defence team were really trying to question him and prod him on whether or not that website in fact could have been different back at the time that they alleged that Erin Patterson accessed it. So the jury was shown essentially a world map with red dots on it that were death cap mushroom sightings. So there was a lot of questioning on, is the jury being shown what the prosecution alleged Erin Patterson was accessing, or whether or not that website could in fact be different now.
Well, CCTV footage presented as evidence previously was also brought into question. What did Patterson's lawyers say about that?
Yeah, so this is some CCTV that we've seen from a subway in Leongatha. Now, the prosecution say that this was taken on the 29th of July 2023, and it shows a red SUV four-wheel drive vehicle pull up across concrete in the dark to the front of a subway, and a teenage boy, they say, gets out and goes into the store. The prosecution say that this was the accused woman's son, and then the car left, and there's 11 minutes that hasn't been accounted for. But today, the defence barrister quizzed the informant on whether or not that was in fact the accused woman's son, or if it is a mystery boy, essentially. So they were asked if there was any banking records or records from the subway that could show what time that transaction was made. The informant said he was pretty sure, and he maintained it was the accused woman's teenage son, but said it was a matter for the jury.
All right, Erin, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
And in the words of Obi-Wan Kenobi, yep, that's no Star Wars fan website. It's a secret CIA internet portal. A security researcher has revealed the US spy agency used the fan page as a way to secretly speak to assets overseas. And Star Wars wasn't the CIA's only website front. It also used web pages like Rasta Direct and a Johnny Carson fan page for covert communication.
Really? That's crazy.
Genius.
So, sorry, CIA agents talking to each other, or they're trying to catch someone out using those websites?
No, I think they're talking to each other, is my understanding.
Yeah, they're not. It's not like the worst job ever at the CIA. Like some people get to be undercover in Russia, the other have to hang out on Reddit looking at Star Wars. No, they're using it as the platform to communicate.
Have you seen that cool Johnny Carson episode where we just got Bin Laden in Pakistan? How are you hiding the messages?
Yeah. This is wild, isn't it? You never know what's going on there. Like, they should start doing this on our Facebook page here at the project. They could use it, the CIA could use it as a being like, how good's that Sam Taunton? I haven't thought more about how they do it yet, but that would be a great starting point for the CIA if you're watching.
They could never say that. Too implausible. They'd have to come up with something else.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I'm the rogue asset.
Sam
Taunton
I think that's right.
Imagine though all of the people who were there just genuinely geeking out about Star Wars, and then there was this plot.
The whole time.
The whole time.
And if you got messed up in it somehow, you just wandered into a conversation you weren't meant to have.
You're so right.
It's almost like something from a galaxy a long time ago.
Oh, no. Very good. By the way,
away.
how have we gotten this far into this conversation without a single Wookiee reference?
There we go.
It's actually...
They do that for 4 minutes.
I'm talking to my other CIA brethren around the world.
They just moved up.
All right, well, project soon after this.
This is The Project. Welcome back.
Well, from teens using it for homework hacks to some schools outright embracing the tech, it's no secret that artificial intelligence is shaking up the classroom. Now, the boldest claim yet that AI can teach our kids better than we can.
I do think that education is going to change. It's just a lot more scalable to teach with AI than with teachers.
That's Luis von On, founder and CEO of popular language learning app Duolingo. Of late, Luis has been busy ruffling feathers. First, he announced Duolingo was shifting to an AI-first strategy, releasing a batch of new language courses all built by AI.
It's going to be a disaster. Time to say goodbye to my 1,065-day streak. Screw AI and screw this dumbass CEO.
This was the kick in the pants I needed. Goodbye, 920-day streak.
Also revealed, the company's plans to phase out contractors and get AI to do all the work instead. A plan it's now walked back.
Everybody needs to boycott Duolingo.
Duolingo is a sinking ship.
Replacing human beings with AI is only going to get worse if we don't take a stand.
Now Luis has come for all teachers.
There's one teacher and like 30 students. Each teacher cannot give individualized attention to each student, but the computer can. The computer can actually know with very precise knowledge about what this one student is good at and bad at.
Luis's suggestion that AI can out-teach teachers hasn't gone down well with, well, teachers.
AI replacing teachers is problematic for a wide variety of reasons, but it is a textbook example of a tech bro thinking that they're an expert on everything because they built a cool app.
Students probably are not getting the amount of personalized attention that they need. But of course, AI cannot and should not replace teachers. Oh my God.
But Louis was quick to stress that teachers and schools will still continue to play a crucial role.
You still need people to take care of the students. I also don't think schools are going to go away because you still need childcare.
I guess if you think a big part of what teachers are doing is childcare, that makes a lot more sense.
So is AI a better teacher than a real one? We decided to go straight to the source. According to ChatGPT,
AI can outperform human teachers in specific tasks such as data processing, personalised learning, and administrative efficiency. However, it lacks the emotional intelligence, adaptability, and ethical guidance that human educators provide.
There are extremely good teachers, that's for sure, but there's not very many of them.
We were going to interview AI for this interview, but it would have been boring. So Paul Menta is here, assistant principal and maths teacher. Paul, do you think AI can teach better than you?
I hope not. Seriously, the truth is it probably knows more about the content and could possibly even communicate better than I could. But that's not what makes a great teacher. And I think if you consider the greatest teachers in your lives, I dare say what you think made them so great wasn't that they could answer all of your questions. You know, we say here, to the head, through the heart. And it's said in recognition of the fact that teachers are really professional relationship builders. And AI is not better at that than I am.
Mr. Menta, are there any benefits to AI in teaching? Would you use it?
Yeah, absolutely, and I do regularly. I think, from the perspective of shortening the feedback cycle between teachers and students, providing individualised work plan, not necessarily individualised learning, but individualised work to reinforce learning, certainly it's fantastic. Educational leadership, it provides us with the tools to identify students that require intervention before they show behaviours that are concerning. But like the rest of the world, we're new at this, right? Like the rest of the world, we're still figuring out, how to implement this and what the potential really is. But it's certainly there.
He also says we'll still need teachers for childcare. What's your response to that?
Look, I dare say he said that, for shock value, and let's be real, nothing generates interest quite like outrage. But I'm not outraged by that. I'm not offended, because I think caring for children is probably the noblest profession that I can think of. The reality is that if teenagers don't always make the best decisions for themselves, and adolescents are the same for that matter. If the gateway to education and excellent educational outcomes was wide open, they wouldn't necessarily walk through without the support of a mentor or a teacher. We don't, as teachers, we don't love our students because they're always great. They grow to be great because of our love. And sometimes that looks like a check-in, sometimes it looks like holding them to a higher standard than they'd otherwise hold themselves. But ultimately, we're relationship builders, and AI isn't going to replace that.
Yeah, but then I guess you can't, AI is going to be there now. It's part of the reality. So how are you guys dealing with how much kids are using it? Do you limit it, or do you try to set up processes where you guide them with it?
Look, I think there's two parts to that. In the short term, to protect academic integrity, we've certainly here pivoted our assessment. Our assessment practices now are all handwritten, logbooks that are distributed and collected and then redistributed, all under class conditions. We've got things like Turnitin to try and check whether something's AI generated, but ultimately that's short term. The kids will figure out a way around that. That's not really solving the issue. I think, unfortunately, at the moment, it's really difficult to navigate the world of AI in a child-safe way. We can hardly encourage the use of a tool that's gathering data on our children for the purposes of on-selling it for targeted assessment. Ultimately, I don't know exactly what the solution here looks like, but I think it starts with conversation with the students. It starts with education around the why we're getting them to learn. We don't want them to produce knowledge without having learnt anything at all. I don't think that's a particularly useful skill. But ultimately, we've got a child-safe version coming out pretty soon called, Copilot 13+. It's not on-selling their data. It's protected by our enterprise. I think, that will start the conversation piece. Will assessment look different? Absolutely. But we're not quite there yet.
Paul, I hope I can cross to you in another 10 years to discuss how you're doing in the job that you currently have. Thank you very much for your time.
Cheers, thank you.
Imagine just sitting in a classroom and it's just a screen.
Yeah.
Well, you lose so much.
That was great. That was called when a substitute teacher came in. Play Shrek, mate. Don't pretend you're my actual teacher. I'm not listening to you.
Wheeling the VHS out was one of the great moments in primary school.
What a joy.
All right, in other news, and Gina Reinhardt is still rolling in it with a fortune of $38.1 billion. She has topped the Australian Financial Review's rich list for the 6th year in a row. Harry Triguboff, Anthony Pratt and family, Atlassian co-founder Scott Farquhar and Clive Palmer round out the top 5. Falling out of the top 10 this year, Andrew Twiggy Forrest. His ex-wife Nicola, though, hangs in at number 9, reportedly because she holds more Fortescue shares than Twiggy.
Sam just missed out. But coming in at number 191, it's the Diamond family who join us now. So thanks very much for joining us, guys. For those who can't tell, you're the Penwright family. This is what you do. You bought the company in 1979. It's now worth $700 million. Why do you think your family's been so successful with it?
I think it's, we're a great family. We stuck together during those times. We developed really good products and, we really look after our customers. So over those years, we've grown and grown and grown. And, for everyone here, it's been a great recognition for the great work that we've done. And my mum, of course, bought the company in 1979 and she had 9 kids. And we all work together, and we all still talk. We still talk to each other, so it's great.
Well, off to a very good start.
Yeah.
Margaret, when you bought this, did you have these plans? Did you know that you were going to crack the rich list?
Well, look, it's not really what I want to see. I want to see us still doing a good job, being Australian, being in Australia, and doing what we do best, and that's manufacturing a good product. Yes, it's nice being on that, but yeah, it's not everything.
And it's afforded you to be able to do a lot of different things. I mean, Fleur, what is the best thing that money has done for your family? And also an interesting question, what potentially has been the worst thing that it affords you?
Okay. So the best thing is definitely every second year our entire family goes on a family holiday together.
Oh, that's
And
great.
there is over 40 of us with 9 brothers and sisters, their partners and all their kids. And because we do actually get along really well, we blow out any destination we go to, as you can imagine, with one booking for 40 people. So that is the best thing without a doubt. I don't think I have a bad thing. I think we're really quite humble. We're not driving around in diamond Porsches and living in gold castles. So I don't think if you knocked into us on the street, you wouldn't know who we were. You wouldn't know if we had some coin or not.
But Fleur, I'm interested in these family holidays. I mean, what are they like? Are they more Succession or like the castle?
No, it's more like
Game of Thrones.
I'm a survivor. Get me out of here. Let's put it that way. Lord of the Flies.
No, we get on well. We get
along really well.
You said no gold castles or crystal Porsches, but is there someone in the family who's terrible with cash? Is there a Nick Cody of your family? Is there a gold jet ski and some fake teeth? What are we...
Oh, who are we pointing at? Hang on a second. Toby.
I like some good things. I've got a couple of nice cars and like boats and stuff, but we're not that ostentatious, right? We just enjoy life, but everyday Australians going out enjoying the country that we love.
Look, after the second jet, you just don't think about it, right?
Yeah.
That's a gag.
No. We understand, don't worry. Hey, guys, congratulations. Not just on the listing, but everything over the decades. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Molly.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, you're watching The Project. We'll be back after this.
Welcome back. You're watching The Project.
Now,
Sam.
just like Ross and Rachel, Ben and J-Lo, the Libs and the Nationals, Nick and I, we're back together again.
Oh.
Some call it fate, I call it a rostering error. It's time for... I'll just move on from that dig. Anyway, a private school in Sydney wants parents to kick in cash to fund its champagne budget for events like the Year 6 mother-son dance. I say let them drink as much champagne as they want. How else are those 11-year-old boys going to get through the mumbo with mummy? But like, Alexander, hands lower. It's a sensual dance. It's like... Passengers on Turkish flights will be fined $125 if they unbuckle their seatbelts and stand up before the plane has come to a stop.
Wow.
And if you clap when the plane lands, you're taken out the back and shot. Former Health Minister, Finance Minister, Industry, Science, Energy and Resources Minister, Home Affairs Minister, Treasury Minister and Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, wants the AUKUS Defence Pact to be expanded to include outer space. In space, no one can hear you, Kaleli.
It's so good, you did 2 in a row. Fantastic. A forensic pathologist has found 80% of people he'd seen in his morgue with Ned Kelly tattoos had died violent deaths.
Oh.
And the other 20% died from getting their heads stuck in a metal bucket. I'm stuck. Such is life.
This week, Labor's Charlotte Walker became Australia's youngest ever senator at just 21 years of age. What a nerd. Just kidding, it's the first time we'll ever have a senator on a Kentucky tour. It's actually pretty gross.
What a nerd, says the guy doing Wookiee voices all night. A Canadian uni has launched an Adulting 101 course to teach young people life skills like shopping, laundry and changing attire. Graduates then progress to the master's course, which covers juggling, redundancies, a messy divorce and cutting your kids out of the will. And good news, this is your professor.
Cleaning experts have found that the steering wheel in your car is covered in more germs than your toilet. That's surprising because when I go to the toilet, it's usually too fast, too furious.
Heavens. Finally, a woman says she was left with a 7-year infection after her boyfriend farted in her face.
No.
The boyfriend denies it, which I think makes it the most severe case of gaslighting I've ever heard. Anyway, it's just nice to see your girlfriend, eh, Nick?
Girlfriend? She's my wife. And that was...
Sorry, mate. I didn't mean to offend. Sorry, mate.
That's what marriage is all about.
Sorry.
A musical jack of all trades. Our next guest is one of the hardest working hit makers in all the showbiz.
It was the 2007 smash that made OneRepublic, fronted by Ryan Tedder, instantly known around the globe. The hits kept coming, with Ryan also penning some of the biggest songs this millennium.
I'm a sucker for all the subliminal things no one knows about you.
But with 5 billion streams on Spotify, he's kept plenty of gold for the band. And no stranger to Australia, OneRepublic isn't out of love for us yet.
Please welcome Ryan Tedder. Oh, yes, this is the energy we need. Ryan, you guys never skip Australia. Is it a case of you can't get enough of us, or is it that we can't get enough of you?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Nobody wants to pursue the girl that doesn't want to go to the prom. So it's a bit of like we both dance around each other and then we end up at the same location. But I've been obsessed with it for a long time, and I've had family that lived in Australia and friends, and then I became a coffee nut, and then I discovered the Melbourne coffee scene. And so honestly, if we had no fans, I would still figure out a way to go back and play shows in Melbourne because we absolutely love it.
Hey, you've performed a lot of places, though, not just Australia, we should point out. And this one caught my eye, the top of an Austrian mountain. Now, this seems like a terrible place to have to play guitar. But what is it like to perform there?
Oh, my God. We took a helicopter to the top of a mountain, then a gondola, did the show, took a snowcat to another helicopter, flew across the Austrian Alps to Zurich. That was in a 3-hour window.
Wow.
It was,
oh, my God.
You know what, though? I have to say this. Everybody should do that once.
Sam's going to do it next week.
Forget what you've heard.
I love that you think that's an option for me. Like, there's not the demand for my stand-up comedy that that's possibly a scenario.
Life is short, man.
We were kind of thinking today, you've got so many hits, whether it's, you know, you've recorded it or you've produced it or you've written it. It's kind of, must be kind of interesting when you've got something and it's good, whether you kind of decide to keep it for yourself, the band, or, you know, flick it to someone else. How do you do that?
If I'm writing with, let's say, you know, Adele, occasionally we had a song that was kind of a big song for OneRepublic years ago called Love Runs Out. I started it for Adele. I had just done Rumor Has It, and I went into the next song and it became Love Runs Out. It didn't make sense for her, it made sense for me. A lot of it is just like logic. I just go, do I believe myself? Is this my story? Do people want to hear this from me? Do I resonate with it emotionally?
Many of your songs in recent years are sub 3 minutes. What's the art to a short song, and are you making them shorter because you've just got to make so many? Let's just get them out. There's too many people to work with. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
So the last 4 years, honestly, since COVID, a thing happened. TikTok went crazy.
Yeah.
It went from this app that a few people were on to everyone. And what that did was subdivide people's attention span and created, honestly, probably a lot of attention deficit disorder, where every time you get a new clip, a new video, you get a dopamine kick in your brain. And it lasts about 10 seconds, which is when you flip to the next thing. That's what we do. Music got affected by that. The reason the world is seeing shorter songs, it is people like myself instinctively reacting to global culture, which tells me like I clearly have some version of ADHD.
Well, it's a very lucrative form of ADHD, clearly.
It's very well. I've just figured out how to harness it. It's all right. But if I use myself as a litmus test, if I start to get distracted during a song or movie or anything, I have these internal red flags go off that just basically are like, hey, focus on that moment. That moment right there, you're losing me. And if you're losing me, you're losing a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Interesting. And that's all I use is my own internal barometer. So I basically have the attention span of a 15-year-old, and I just kind of use that as my North Star.
Hey, Ryan, when is it too late to apologise?
I would say, Kanye, it's too late to apologize.
Okay.
I'm just calling it. I'm calling it like it is, man. At a certain point,
Yes.
at a certain point, you can't run back Hitler. There's no running it back.
Yeah.
So
You actually, you've summed that up. We didn't even need 2 minutes. That was the most precise, succinct, perfect answer. Look, the OneRepublic tour, they're touring Australia in February next year. Ticket details are on our website. Make sure you go. Would you please thank Ryan Tedder? Incredible.
Wow. That is it from us tonight. Please thank Nick Cody. Yeah, the grand final last night. 6:30.